Evening. This is Not Naked, my video diary, episode 2. So, firstly, I'll just let you know I decided I'm only gonna do one take. So, I'm gonna do it all at once, play some music, talk a little bit, tell a story. So, if I fuck up or something, I don't know. I'm only doing it once, that's what I'm trying to say. So, firstly, I was supposed to play a song at the beginning of the one last night, and I forgot. I'm not going to forget today. I'm going to play one now for this episode, and at the end, I'm going to play another one for last night's episode. This one's called Your God is a Tyrant. 1, 2, 3, understand what you think and what you know could be wrong. Stand it set to neutralize, feed the sheep, steer the flock, steer it. Separate what you feel and what you're told, get in line. Beggars please, bite that hand, a rat's no match for hungry men, hungry men. But I belong to you. Education, I can't comprehend you. But I belong to you. Education. it goes into another song called something. Anyway, so day 2. Not only day 2 of my video diary, but day 2 of quitting smoking. And it's day 2 nicotine free. And I honestly feel great. I really do. Every single time a cigarette pops into my head, for maybe a split second, every once in a while, I'll think, out of habit, putting it to my mouth and inhaling it into my lungs. But the second, if I even get that far, the second I do, I remember that I'm free. I truly don't want it. I don't have to talk myself out of wanting a cigarette. It's like, I'm used to smoking all the time, so it pops into my head sometimes, but immediately it's like, I've learned this control that I have over it, and then I've learned about how much of it was in my head to begin with. Which brings me to my first point, which is the illusions in addiction. For the longest time, I smoked cigarettes for 2 primary reasons. 1, boredom, and 2, and mostly this one, was anxiety. I understood and had been told for years that it was something nicotine does. Even by people in medical profession, I've been told things like, it calms your nerves and it helps you relax, helps you concentrate. All that's bullshit. It's an illusion. It really is. Your belief that this cigarette is calming your nerves on top of this, what Alan Carr calls the little nicotine monster in your stomach. It's like the two of them, you get this slight, tiny little craving, but your brain tells you, oh yeah, that helps me with my nerves, my concentration, or whatever the fuck. So, you smoke it, and your belief in that is actually what calms your nerves. But in reality, it's not even calming your nerves, you just think it is. The relief that's felt is purely you just feeding the nicotine monster. And the reason you want a cigarette is because you smoked the last one. I don't know, it sounds like maybe common sense to some people or stupid to others, or I don't know, maybe I'm not making as much sense with my mouth as I am in my head. But my point is, I am ever so grateful for having this book in my life. I'm glad it was recommended to me. Not even halfway through it, I knew that I could quit, and that I was done. I was ready. I was ready to quit. I'm ready to commit. Now, let's see. Right. I already asked that, and started checking my notes. Oh, okay, so yeah. It's like, the book helps you build pathways, basically. It deprograms you from your original beliefs, of nicotine addiction, and it teaches you to replace these feelings of missing out on smoking. Like, I've quit several times before, or I've stopped for periods of time, sometimes close to a month, definitely long enough for the nicotine to get out of my system, but I kept going back to it. And after reading this book, I can attribute that to the fact that I really believed I was missing out on something. I believed I was making this big personal sacrifice, like, I'm giving up something I enjoy doing for what? Health, I guess, which is stupid mind frame. But I didn't mean to be that way. But boy, am I glad I read this book, because it replaced that feeling of missing out and loss with a feeling of joy, feeling of gratitude. Every time I think of a cigarette, I think I'm fucking free. Oh my god, this is amazing. I'm free. I don't have to smoke. I don't have to fucking kill myself. It's great. Now let's see, what else are we going to talk about today? Well, another. It's part of how I know it's concrete this time. I'm done. I made the commitment to myself that I'm never going to smoke again. And I know I can stick to that because I made that same commitment under very similar circumstances after a very similar realization. I got off of heroin and I was able to say then I'm never going to do it again. And here I am, just about 2 years later. I've not done it. It's the farthest thing from my mind. And, a lot of that, instead of a book that helped me that time, it was a mushroom trip. I'd been clean for a few months, and I wound up taking, it was just one or two hits off of foil, and, I just thought, oh, at least I didn't shoot it up, and blah, blah, blah. But I was feeling completely helpless and completely alone. Like, how did this happen? Like every time I relapsed with cigarettes, and it wasn't the first time I relapsed either. But, I wound up, one thing led to another. I wound up doing some mushrooms that night, and I can't explain it as clearly now. I mean, it's been a while, but it's similar processes, to the one I went through with this book, and I'm going through still. It just made me realize I have a choice. When you're in the middle of something like that, it really feels like you don't have a choice. And the layers of denial and lying to yourself and others and all this shit that goes with it makes it very difficult to put it in perspective and see it for what it is and understand that, a huge portion of the effects that you think are, this drug, whatever it may be, are really up here. It really is. And for some reason, it's really difficult for people to understand that. But I did some mushrooms, and it opened my eyes, made me realize that I was caught in a trap. I can't walk out because I love you too much, baby. No, but I was caught in a trap. And in a split second, a blink of an eye, I saw my heroin use for what it was. Like, I now see my cigarette use for what it is. I think I'm done with that for now. Okay, so I'm going to tell you about my first mushroom trip. Because it's pretty wacky. It's a pretty wild story. And the mushroom trip is the least of it. So, I was going camping with my buddy Casey, Josh, Josh's brother Kevin, Kevin's brother, Kevin's girlfriend Jamie, Jay, his wife Keely, their son Ryder, and their little dog. I ate the mushrooms at Josh's house right before we left. It tasted like pistachios, like rotten pistachios. And then we started driving up the mountain. And the drive was really intense because I was riding with Kevin and Jamie, who were arguing in the front. I was in the back with Ryder and the little dog. So this 3.5-year-old kid and this dog, both looking at me like they fucking knew something was going on. Like, just eyes fixed on me pretty much the whole drive up the mountain. Which only added to these new weird anxiety related feelings I was feeling. And I didn't like it. I was kind of getting kind of freaked out. My depth perception was off. Started feeling real nauseous almost, but I never puked. They're arguing and arguing, and then we finally get to the fucking top. And as soon as I open the door and get out, and stood up and breathed the fresh mountain air in, the biggest grin, just like naturally, my face started forming a grin that stuck for like 6.5 hours, however long the trip was. I mean, no joke, my face hurt the next day from how much I was smiling. And that reminds me, I mean, right, that reminds me. The tent we set up in these horse corrals at the top of Carr Canyon, which is where we were going camping. I should have mentioned that before. We set up our tent in these horse corrals. Or I should say, Casey and Josh set up the tent. I tried to help, but the frame was made, it was these color-coded PVC pipes, and that was one of the funniest moments of the whole night, was when I realized, holy shit, I'm tripping, and I can't tell what colors they're switching on me. They're never constant. I can't, I was for like 10 minutes trying to help them and putting the wrong pieces together. It was a hoot. So, and these other people pulled up in the parking lot next to us, and at this point we had made a fire, but it took us like a half hour. Well, I shouldn't say us, it was Kevin, because I've made fires a lot since then. Didn't take me as long as it did that time, as long as it took Kevin. But anyway, these people had a big fucking raging fire in like 2 minutes. Maybe a little longer, but you get the point. It was really fast. But that was about it. We all noted that it was strange how quickly they got their giant fucking fire blazing. Then we went back to our thing. 4 or 5 hours had passed by then. We had the campfire. We were all sitting around. We'd eaten a little bit. I had a couple beers, and then I took this big bong rip. That was not the best decision at that point, I guess. I mean, it made me feel really weird. I got really weirded out. I didn't want to be around people. I had to get up and take a little walk. So I took a little stroll and found this clearing and just decided I need to lay down. So I laid down in the middle of this clearing, and the trees were surrounding me, and they looked like they were coming in like this, and they were breathing, and it was wild. And I was looking up at the sky and stars, and there was this grid all across the sky, and I can't tell you why now, but for a few moments I understood. I swear, I knew the meaning of life for a minute. It was a very fleeting feeling. But boy, was it profound. Man, I wish I could remember why. So, after I, laid down for a while and was mesmerized by the grid and everything, I decided to meander back to the campsite. And at this point, we had moved, or a few of us had gone to bed, and we had moved from the campfire to the table, and we were drinking beers and talking and all this shit, and then we kept hearing what we thought at first was the people on the campsite next to us having sex, and we thought maybe they were crying, and then we looked over there and we could see the chick sitting at the table. It was a guy and a gal, and the gal was at the table, and we thought she was crying. So Jay and I decided to walk over there and see what was going on. And I almost touched her and was like, "Hey, are you okay?" And realized she was sitting there ripping out handfuls of black matted hair. There were piles of hair on the table. And she was super pale, like had some like scrapes, like maybe she'd scratched herself or something. It was really freaky. As soon as I saw what she was doing, we like just backed off. We went back to our campsite. We called the police because we didn't know what was going on. We decided, that's fucking freaky, we're gonna leave, right? So they started packing shit up, and next thing you know, their fire's out, and she's not crying anymore, she's not at the table. And we're like, what the fuck? You know, because when we were over there, she didn't even acknowledge us. It was as if she didn't know we were there. But then all of a sudden, fires out, and she's gone. And about 10 seconds later, we see this dark figure walk behind Kevin's truck. And it was her. I mean, she was walking around our campsite, and we were all freaking the fuck out. So some of us, Casey, Jay, and Kevin, were getting packed up. Josh was passed out, drunk in the tent in the horse corrals. And they had me get Ryder, the dog, Jamie, and Keely, and we all sat in one of the cars. We were trying to keep Ryder and the dog. Well, the dog didn't know what was going on, but they're trying to keep Ryder calm. And we hear this bang, 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 and I look over, and the horse corral where our tent is set up is where that chick is, and she's fucking slamming her head over and over again in this metal fucking bar. So fucking loud. I mean, she must have done it close to 15 times. It was insane. So then that stopped. And they're about halfway through packing up now. And I'm talking to Ryder and still in the car. And then Kevin texts me and says, turn your headlights on. And I fucking knew. And for some stupid reason I did. I kind of wish I hadn't. But I turned my headlights on. And she was standing there, knees to the hood. And started screaming bloody murder and pointed at me. And I kept telling her, I was like, get the fuck away. Fucking, buck, you know, screaming. She left. She kind of stumbled off. It was weird. And then a couple minutes later, the police arrived. And we saw her talking to the police, pointing at us like, I didn't do anything. They did everything. I didn't. And then we fucking left, right? Well, after they left, the cops left, and we were like, what the fuck? I mean, because she was, I forgot an important detail. She was fucking drenched in blood from slamming her head on that thing. She probably told the cops she fell on a rock or some bullshit, but the cops left, and then they left. They went speeding off. We finished packing up and went down the mountain. I rode with Jay this time, and the whole time I was like, fuck, I'm so afraid they're waiting for us. They're going to be waiting for us down there. Sure enough, they were waiting down there. Well, they were sitting down there. I don't know if they were waiting, but once they saw us drive by, they started following us, and they followed us for about 5 miles or so, and then turned off somewhere behind us, and we all spent the night at Kevin and Jamie's apartment, and most of us had nightmares about them that night. Thought it was totally over, right? Get this, about 6 months later, I was driving through this McDonald's drive-thru, and guess who took my money? The woman who slammed her head into the horse corrals. It was her, for sure. Wild. She wasn't as bloody then, which is probably good. So, what am I doing now? I guess, okay, so what's the point of this? You know? Right? Now, I don't know. I guess I'd say it's an outlet, you know, obviously. I got a lot of thoughts that I think and a lot of feelings that I feel. I'm not one for writing down things, you know, typing doesn't sound as enticing. You know, and I'm very expressive. I want to express myself and make myself, I guess, available. No, that's not right. I don't know what I'm fucking talking about. See, this is why I was having anxiety about doing one takes. Like, fucking Rod, you smoke so much weed, bro. You're gone, bro. You're out of there sometimes. I honestly forgot what I was saying, and then said whatever I said. But the point is, you know, it's an outlet. And I hope that I can maybe connect with some people. You know, maybe I'll say something or play something that resonates with somebody. You know, I mean, if you're still watching after 25 minutes, well, good for you. Thank you. But I should probably get on. Let's see. I got one more song to play, and then we're gonna call it a night.
Leave her alone, man, I don't know. Abide my schedule of pill. Mother is thrilled, but I know I'm just killing the time. Barely awake, barely a dime. Everything repeating, fell asleep when ending somewhere in this body, and I don't know how to do this, just mouthing alone. Try to keep to myself, but it's been too long. I try to keep to myself, but it's been too long. Line my schedule of pills. Mother is thrilled, but I know I'm just killing the time. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you later.